Hi Cal in the future, it is Cal on September 9, 2019 at around 12:20 p.m. And I'm making this video because I wanted to document my 2 years on testosterone, which is something that I haven't done yet and something that I haven't really spoken about yet, and I feel like I haven't really been able to document some of my anniversaries while on testosterone, so I wanted to make this for you. I guess going forward, I'm just going to go through a couple things that I wrote down, some notes that I wanted to talk about, and just for the sake of watching this in the future, content warning-wise and trigger warning-wise, I'm going to be talking about needles, hyper-masculinity, toxic masculinity, sex ed-related topics, and personal body parts, and such. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to be talking about year 1 and year 2, as you probably know the main differences with that. But year 1 was a lot of physical stuff. So here, we got body hair, that changes. My voice has gotten a lot deeper. Fat redistribution, so instead of fat going to my hips, it's more like my stomach and it's mainly more my stomach than my hips. It's just slimmed down there. Defining features, so my jawline has come out a little bit more and my face is slimmed down. Broader shoulders, I don't know if that falls under fat distribution, probably not. Broader shoulders. My period ended up stopping at 3 months on testosterone, so that's been something else. That's changed. Something that I do want to talk about I'm kind of bouncing around, but something I do want to talk about is tea doesn't give you muscle, so broader shoulders and all the changes that I have made for myself with my body are from going to the gym, and that helped a lot with my chest too, so I don't really bind anymore. But I feel like testosterone did help a lot with just broadening shoulders and whatnot, becoming more comfortable with my body. And then I guess this is what I mean by content warning, sex ed related stuff. My genitals have changed too, so my clit has enlarged and it has gotten a lot more sensitive in the genital region. So it's just, I'm a lot used to it now. I'm a lot more used to it now. But especially walking those first couple of months was kind of weird because it would just feel like everything is going out of control down there, because it's really sensitive. So there's that. Those are the main things that happen in the first year, and I think it's also, and then emotional changes, right? So as you know, going on T or going on HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, you get this whole thing of going on puberty for the second time. So a lot of people call it second puberty. And so we have a lot of emotional changes here. So we have, mood swings and mood just fluxes. Dealing with emotions is just totally different. So not being able to cry now, which is kind of the worst. It's gotten a lot better in the past couple months, but it was really hard dealing with the fact that I can't really cry anymore unless it's really, really, really serious. And then also having to deal with my emotions differently. So I do that through physical activity. So going to the gym is kind of how it's my equivalent of crying now, I guess. That's the best way to put it, because I can't cry and have that cathartic thing anymore. It's kind of sad. Aggression is something that I think I dealt with a little bit in the first year and maybe second year. I'm 2 years and 3 months on T now, right? So, so the aggression bit was kind of something that I went through. Nothing so wild, because I've never been an aggressive person towards others, at least. That's never been my personality trait. But it was something that was really interesting, I think, in particular about my situation, was that when I started testosterone, shortly after I started testosterone, I also went through a more serious breakup, pretty serious breakup. And so a lot of things didn't really I could never tell what was the testosterone and what was my emotion flux and stuff from the breakup. And so that's what my doctor said when I explained it to her. So was kind of interesting. I don't know if, some of the mood swings happened because of the breakup, because of the testosterone, like, were things heightened because of the testosterone, or was it just, like, the breakup was just hard in its nature, and, there was so many things there, so that's kind of interesting. That's essentially year one. Year two was mainly psychological things. Physical things, it's the same old, and then on top of that, I get scar tissue. Well, I get scar tissue. I have scar tissue now in my legs, so that's kind of a new thing. And now I'm using, like, my needles are now going on my butt, because I can't really do my legs anymore, because it just hurts so much to do it there. And I might check out if I can do it here, which is, I think, sub-Q. It's like, there's different ways to inject things. So I might do it here, or I might do it in my, like, stomach-ish fat, like, hip fat area. I don't know, I'll deal with that later, but, right now it's on my butt. So 3 main things, I guess, that I do want to talk about. I started having passing privilege when I was 3 months on testosterone, so that's when I can say I started having, like, male privilege, and just, like, the way in which the world kind of changes around you is something that has been a big thing for me. So the first thing that I really remembered was Halloween 2017, which was my 4 months on testosterone, roughly 4 months, and, like, getting into, like, this whole like, bro-ish culture sort of thing. So that was my first Halloween on testosterone, and it was also the first Halloween where I realized a whole bunch of new things. So I went out trick-or-treating with, 3, like, a good friend of mine, and then 3, I think, of her roommates. And I was in 3rd year university at this point. So we went out, and we were doing, like, house party hopping, and essentially when, like, for most of the houses that I ended up walking into, like, I wouldn't acknowledge anyone. It was, like, a whole bunch of university college students. I wouldn't acknowledge anyone, but a lot of the guys were just like, hey man, like, hey buddy, and, like, giving me high fives and, like, acknowledging me, even though I, like, wasn't making eye contact or wasn't talking to them at all. Like, that is, like, just not something that I was used to. It was, like, weird. Like, it was, like, I guess nice in a way, because obviously I was, like, 4 months on testosterone, so passing wasn't something I was used to, or being, like, acknowledged as a masculine figure wasn't something that I was used to. But it was just, like, kind of strange that I was being acknowledged for just, like, being another bro, like, another guy. So yeah, that was I remember realizing that, and that was, like, really strange. And then also I remember one of the house parties, we ended up walking outside, and we were all just, like, huddled figuring out what we were gonna do next that night. And then some guys ended up walking up to us, and it was, just to remind you, like, this group was me, like, a masculine person, or masculine looking person, and then, like, 3 or 4 feminine looking people, so, like, 3 other women, and then me, like, this trans mask short guy. But these 2 guys ended up coming up to our group, and, like, they were talking, I don't know what they were talking about, but they were talking, and they just were talking to all the feminine people, and just, like, completely ignored me, as if I wasn't there. And, I mean, like, obviously, in, like, heteronormative culture, like, I know what's happening here, but, like, just, it was really strange, like, being a masculine person, and the way that other people interacted with me because I was a masculine person. That was kind of interesting to look at. On top of that, I guess talking about with the ways that I've been, I guess, interacted with, bathroom culture was also something really new, and I do want to make a YouTube video about this, because my final research paper in university was about bathroom culture, and how women's bathroom culture and men's bathroom culture are just totally different. So I'll save all the details for that. But it was really odd going into the men's bathroom for the first time and realizing that I couldn't, like, normally, like, talk to my friends in there, as, like, how open you can have a conversation in women's bathrooms, because it's just, the culture is so different, and I get really riled up when I talk about it. It's really interesting. But my next point here is really, like, displacement and feeling like my past has been erased. So, like, having male privilege, the world and society views me, obviously, as a man. I mean, if you don't know or aren't educated on non-binary individuals or, trans people, like, that's kind of how people view me, as, like, this teenage boy. I mean, I'm kind of short, and I'm I look young, so I look like a 17-year-old teenage boy. That's the reality of it. So, I don't know, I've been dealing with a lot of, like, feelings of, like, I guess my past of being a woman for 18 years or whatever, just being completely erased, and, like, in a way, it's kind of sad. Just, like, getting into conversations on Twitter about feminist theories and feminist-related things, and me agreeing with, a woman who's speaking her mind about something, and then being attacked or having some kind of, like, defensive reply to my tweet because it was read incorrectly. Like, I'm not complaining about having the male privilege, because I understand that we're in a patriarchy and I despise it. But I guess it makes me upset that I can't. I don't know, that I guess it feels like, wow, hey Google, stop. That was weird, sorry. But it feels like my past is erased, and I'm kind of sad about that, just because I did obviously grow up as a woman, and my experience isn't the same as a cis guy. So that's something that I've also been, I guess, harboring, I've been shouldering lately. I guess the last thing really here, and it goes hand in hand with that second displacement part, is being scared of becoming hypermasculine. And I think this is a big reason as to why why feminism is important, because genuinely, I'm just like, recently, like, I'm a really animated person. I like talking about my feelings. I like opening up to people. I like, I like being me. Like, I've always been this person, I'm an ENFP, if anyone knows what that means. But, I'm really scared of being hypermasculine. I think people expect me to be this macho guy who doesn't have feelings and doesn't talk about, I don't know, like, people, like, I feel like I'm being accounted, like, I'm being held accountable by other guys to be this, like, masculine person, like, it really falls into hypermasculinity, like, this idea of, like, I can't be animated and I can't talk about my feelings because I'm, like, portrayed as gay, where there's nothing wrong with that, but the idea that men can't have feelings, or else it's not a masculine thing, is just, everything is perpetuated. I hope I'm making sense, but it's really unhealthy how hyper-masculinity, or just toxic masculinity, and masculinity at its core culture is, it's very unhealthy, in the sense that people can't be themselves in any sense. Like, women can't be themselves because they are, completely oppressed and disrespected, and misogyny is very well and alive in this society. And then men can't be themselves because they have to be this cookie-cutter man that doesn't have feelings and is strong and doesn't, and they don't talk about their feelings, and they go out and work, and, God forbid you show any signs of femininity, or, well, then you're gay, and then, homophobia steps in because you're not a real man, like, I don't believe in these things, I'm just saying how society views things. Like, you can't be, like, I feel like as a masculine person, like, it's really come to my attention that, like, men are just, like, kind of stuck in this box where they can't be a real human, or else they are disrespected, like how women are disrespected because they're not men. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but I'm scared of being hypermasculine because I'm realizing that I'm scared of being myself, in the sense of my own physical well-being. Like, someone, I don't want someone attacking me for being like not being like the cookie cutter man that the society expects me to be. This has become like a tangent sort of thing, but like I think that's something that I just want to document, that like, this is why feminism is important. It's because men can't be normal humans because they have to be these robot brainwashed, cookie cutter versions of themselves. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with the traditional man, but when no one can be themselves, like, if you're actually that person, that's fine, but no one can be themselves because you get bullied. Like, you get bullied. You're scared of people, like, attacking you. You're scared of, just being yourself. And, like, no one can really be themselves when toxic masculinity exists. Like, that's really what I think what everything may potentially boil down to. And I don't know, I think about this a lot, and I might make another video if I sit and think about it more, but I'm genuinely scared of becoming hyper-masculine for my own safety. And I despise it, because that's not who I am. I'm non-binary, I don't identify as a man, and my past is valid and real, and I did identify as a woman, and I was treated like a woman for the first 18, 19 years of my life. And, like, as a person who is now in a male privilege place, I want to use this to leverage other women up, other marginalized folk, other, trans, LGBTQ, anyone who is in a place of oppression or being marginalized. So that's really what my bit is, and, like, feminism is so important because of that, and none of this is fair for anyone. Obviously, in a society point of view and in a systemic point of view, men have privilege, and they will, until we abolish the patriarchy, they will always have this, like, level of privilege. But on a personal level, on, like, being themselves and, like, an individualistic, is that a word? Yeah, level, they can't be themselves. Like, they're in a way oppressed within themselves. But obviously in society, men are held up, and that's why patriarchy, misogyny, blah blah. You know. As a feminist, and this is why feminism is so important. This is why talking about all these things is so important. But anyway, that's my bit. All in all, my last kind of bit here, you can't even see that. My last bit here is, despite all of this, I wouldn't have changed it at all. I would have done it all the same. Testosterone has made me more confident in myself than, like, anything has ever done. And, like, in ways I despise some aspects of it, because I am an ally to women to the day I die, and I will be fighting for women as long as I'm alive. And it's not very obvious anymore, because I look like a predator, and that makes me really sad. But I really want to push for feminism, because that's who I am. I'm a feminist, and yeah, those are my, that's my note, really, on 2 years on T. It's, there's a lot of new things I'm realizing about my place in the world, coming from a place of, oppression as a woman to now a place of privilege. Actually, I was thinking of doing a documentary on that, but that's another story for another time. But thanks for watching, Cal, in the future, and I guess anyone else who decides to watch this in the future. And those are my thoughts today on September 9. Just for, I guess, context again, September 1st was my 2 years and 3 months on testosterone. And that's it. Alright, hope you're having a great day, Cal. I love you. I hope you're making great choices wherever you are. If you're stuck in a hard place, I'm sure you're going to figure it out, because you know how it is. We've been through some hard stuff, and we'll figure it out again. And I love you so much. Don't forget that, ever. And, yeah, be good. Thanks so much for listening. Bye now.